Hello YouTube, I have once again procrastinated working on a costume right up until the con. I have a little less than 2 weeks to work on this, but it is a relatively simple costume. I chose to make Arrietty from The Secret World of Arrietty. It's Studio Ghibli's version of The Borrowers. It's incredibly charming, and if you haven't seen it, watch it. But yeah, her costume, I thrifted her dress already, so I don't have to sew that, and I bought the wig and her like hair clip thing. So all that's really left to do is make her props, which is the reason I wanted to cosplay her in the first place. I really enjoy making things the size that they're not supposed to be. It just makes me happy, and I mean, come on, like a sewing pin as a sword, that's adorable. I want to make that. The first thing I think I'm going to make is her little sling bag that she wears, and get the sewing out of the way. I wore my recently thrifted sewing shirt. This is an amazing find. I'm gonna start patterning that out and working on that, and yeah. Sorry if you can hear the fan. It's really hot and it's non-negotiable. I'm keeping it on. I'm just measuring stuff. Though the cream part of her bag basically goes from her shoulder to her waist, so I'm measuring that. Ooh. So like from here to here. 15 inches, baby. Or 14. Let's do 14 inches. Yeah, 14! I'm in a mood. Here are the fabrics I got for the bag. It's just a light green and cream color. I took that cream color and made this like football shape, but without the ends on it. I don't know. That's what it looks like. And I cut 4 of these out, 2 for the outer layer and then 2 for the lining. Also, I didn't realize my charging cable was in this shot, so sorry about that. But yeah, once I had those 4 panels cut out, I then added these pleats to just give it some volume, and I sewed those pleats down. Then I took my 2 pieces for the outside layer of the bag and sewed those together. I made sure to mark where my zipper was going to be, so I didn't sew over where I wanted to insert my zipper. I also didn't sew on the sides, so just the top and bottom, but with an opening for the zipper. With that sewn together, I then flipped it inside out and inserted my lining. I didn't film myself doing the lining. It's the same process, except you don't flip it inside out so that the inside looks all nice and neat. Next, I installed my zipper. Zippers are never fun or easy for me, but I just took my time with it, and I don't think this zipper turned out too bad. I think it's one of my better zippers. But now the bag part of my bag was done, and it was time to do the straps. Here I am measuring how long I want the strap to be. I also measured how wide the end of my bag was to get the measurement for how wide my strap would be, and then I just multiplied it by 2 and added some seam allowance, and then sewed it in half basically, and there I had a strap. The ends of the bag were sandwiched between the strap and then just sewn in place. Alright, I just added the straps. Here's how it's looking. Hold on, I'll do a little spin. This is so cute, and I can put my phone and snacks in there. Also, while I was looking at reference pictures, I realized she has a like flap on this part of the bag that has a big red button here. It's visible in some of the pictures, and then in some it's not, so next time I'm at like a craft store, I'm gonna look for big red buttons, and if I find one, I'll add that detail. If not, I'm not gonna worry about it. And then there's just a few like big stitching details I need to add, but it's pretty late, and I'm gonna call it a day here, so I'll work on those details in the future. My craft store did have a giant button, it just wasn't red, so I needed to paint it, but first, cat. Baby. Oh, no, I need that. Good job. I just used acrylic paint for this and then even got fancy with it and added some shading with a darker red color. Finally, I added a satin top coat to the button and then moved on to the flap of the bag. It was just this circle shape that I then folded in half and sewed down, and then added a, button hole to it with my machine. Yup. Then I just sewed it onto the bag along with the button, and the bag was almost done. It just needed some last few stitching details, and I think it turned out so cute, and I love that it's a prop that is also functional. But after this was done, I then moved on to her belt, which is that same cream fabric, but with some interfacing on the back. Arrietty's belt buckle is a circle, but my craft store only had these D-rings, so I figured for this close enough was good enough, and I used those instead. And then the last part of this belt was adding the belt loop. Here I am making her belt attachment that holds her fishhook and string. I just had some leftover green fabric from a previous project and made this rectangle with a loop on the inside to thread the belt through, and then a hole for the button. So I was up late with some tummy problems last night. I am feeling much better now, but that means I'm getting a late start for today's stuff, which I finished all the sewing yesterday. The bag is done and the belt is ready. All that's left now are her props, which I'm going to be making a fish hook and then her pin sword. I'm going to stop talking and start working on some props because I only have 2 days left to work on this. So I think if I get all the base of the props set up and then paint tomorrow, we should be fine. Oh, and I also have a wig to style, so there's that too. But yeah, let's start on some props. I made the fish hook by sandwiching some wire between 2 sheets of foam. I cut a channel for the wire on one of the foam sheets, that way when the two were pressed together, it would lay flat. I glued everything together with some rubber cement, and once the glue was dry, I took my hook outside and sanded the edges with my Dremel. One of the nice things about having a wire in the middle of this was that I could bend the hook and get in some of the harder to reach places with my Dremel. Once I was happy with how my hook was looking, I set it aside to paint later and went back outside to sand the end of a dowel with my hand sander and just brought it to a rounded point. This was part of my pin sword, and the yellow part of the sword, I used this wooden knob I found at a craft store and then just drilled a hole that the dowel would fit into. Everything was now ready to be primed and painted. I used, I think, only 2 colors for this, the silver for the metallic parts and then the yellow for the yellow part of the pin. It was a pretty simple paint job, and once everything was done, I added a top coat and then glued it all together with what was probably way too much super glue. And then it was time to add my rope to the fish hook. I made sure to glue the ends together, that way it didn't fray while I was wearing it, and just looped it through to a length I thought looked good and continued to keep gluing until I was happy with it. I like how the further we get into this video, the more and more I am looking like a gremlin. But the costume is finished and all that's left is her wig. I bought it pre-styled as a ponytail. I just kind of need to alter it a little bit to make it look more like Arrietty. But yeah, then the costume's done and I can wear it to the convention, which is tomorrow. The wig didn't need too much work. It was mainly just a trim to match Arrietty's hair length, and also I know Arrietty does not have bangs. This wig was just the best option for my budget. But with that, everything was done. Arrietty is done. This costume is so cute. I love how all the props turned out. The costume itself is really comfortable, minus the wig. The wig is a little annoying because a lot of the weight is in the back here, and so I had to use a ton of bobby pins to make sure it doesn't slide back. But that's my only complaint, really. The wig's not the most comfortable. That's it. Arrietty is my third Ghibli protagonist that I have cosplayed. I've also done Nausicaa and San from Princess Mononoke. And I have another one in the works in the nearish future. We'll see how long it takes, really. But yeah, I'm so excited to have another Ghibli character completed. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next video, and bye! I pushed that thing into the wall.